Okay, for our last speaker, we have William Shakespeare. The first question that I asked him is where he got his science news. Back then it was really hard to get science news, but he mentions that there are some good authors like Copernicus and Galileo. So if you guys want to click space on that would be great. He said that his biggest accomplishment was having a share ownership in operation of the Playhouse The Glove, and that used to be about 50 pounds, which now current day comes to be like $25,000. And his hobby at that time was to wander on the woods, and I wish we had some woods in Kansas because that would be amazing too. So without any delay, if someone could call in William Shakespeare to come in, that would be amazing. And I think he's coming.
Lords and ladies, I give you good evening. Ah, Princess, good to see you. This is the noble Prince of Alicante. You would not know it to look at him, but he's rich as creases. Yes. And you're welcome. Well, when Jorge invited me to come here, he said, I want you to wear the funny pants. And I said, why? Nobody else will be wearing the funny pants. Indeed, as I look around, you're all dressed alike, more or less. But he said, well, it'll be cold. You'll stay warm. So I went home and I told Annie he wants me to wear the damn funny pants. And she said, won't it be cold? I said, well, he told me that it would be cold enough to freeze the ears off a brass monkey. Or as cold as a winter in Denmark, and I should know because I spent a Christmas in Elsinore once and it was. But at any rate, here I am. And what I've come to do is to share with you some of the language of our day, to give you an idea of what original pronunciation of early modern English was, and how it has shifted over the years, and how the understanding of my plays has changed as a result. For example, well, just listen to it. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances. You know, Huckabee, Santorum, O'Malley. Their entrances, we've got Clinton and Sanders, and the Rubio as well. So we have our exits and we have our entrances. One man and one woman in their time play many parts, their acts being 7 ages. At first, the infant mewling and puking in the nurse's arm. Here, you take it. And then the whining schoolboy and schoolgirl with satchel and shining morning face creeping unwillingly like snail to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace. The lover, sighing like furnace. Oh. He's shy, ain't he? Then the lover, sighing like furnace with a woeful ballad made to his mistress' lovely eyebrow. Then comes the soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honour, sudden and quick in quarrel's sake and the bubble reputation, even in the cannon's mouth. Then comes the justice, in fair round a belly, with good capon lined, with eyes severe, and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. I told you so, young lad. And so he plays his part. The sixth age shifts into the lane and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side. Pouch on side. His youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again towards childish treble as it pipes and whistles in its sound. Last saying of all in this strange, eventful history is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. Now, the 7 ages of man are not original to me. Indeed, all through the medieval era and into the age of Elizabeth, people have strived to understand what life is and what we make of it. So, that is spoken by a character named Jacques, or Jacques, or Jakes, or Jacques in the French. Now, you know, the English are not fond of the French. They call them frogs, you know, because they eat frogs and snails. No Englishman, nah, he's for beef. You can have the frogs and the snails. So Jacques, or Jacques, or Jakes, is the object of a very naughty name. A joke, a very naughty joke. What do you call that facility out there at the end of the hall?
Restaurant.
And we call it a Jakes. So when Jakes comes along, or Jock, or Jacques, or whatever you want to call it, when they're mad at him, they call him Toilet Boy. It's no wonder he's so melancholy. So what could you hear while I was speaking that sounds different to you or sounds like something that you have heard before from someone else? What do you hear? Pardon? I've been told that it sounds like Irish, because the modern Irish people, when they speak English, they turn, the E has remained the A. And it's a solid A, not a diphthong A, but an A. So I went to meet and greet my friend Horton. And that rhymes with hate and late. So in the verse, or the speech, you'll hear rhymes that don't exist in modern English. There are rhymes at the ends of lines too. For example, love and prove. You hear that in the 116th sonnet. I rhymed love and prove, and love and move. And the reason I did it is because in my day they sound like prov and mov. And so I'll show you. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever-fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with its brave hours and wigs, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. Internal rhymes and external rhymes. in my scripts, and we call them scripts, they're not a play. It's just the words of the play, yes? In my scripts, I'll give directions to the actors. It's very clear at the end of the opening scene of Hamlet when Horatio and the guards have just met the ghost of Hamlet's father, and they're very shaken. And then Horatio turns and is relieved to note, but look, the morn with russet mantle clad steps o'er the dew from the high eastward hills. When Richard III enters the scene, tells you who he is, what's been happening to him, and what he's going to do. Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this sun of York. And all the clouds that lowered upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried. Now are our brows bound with victorious wreaths, our bruised arms hung up for monuments, our stirred alarms changed to merry meetings. Grim-visaged war hath smoothed his wrinkled front, and now instead of mounting barded steeds to fright the souls of fearful adversaries, he capers nimbly in a lady's chamber to the lascivious pleasing of a lute. But I that am not shaped for sportive tricks, nor made to court an amorous looking-glass, I that am curtailed of this fair proportion, cheated of feature by dissembling nature, brought into this breathing world scarce half made up, and that so lame and unfashionable the dogs do bark at me as I hold time. Why, I in this wake piping time apace have no delight but to pass away the time, but to spy mine own shadow in the sun, and descant on my own deformity. Therefore, since I cannot prove a lover to entertain these fair well-spoken days, I am determined to prove a villain, and hate the idle pleasures of these days. Plots have I laid, inductions dangerous, to put my brother Clarence and my brother the King in deadly hate the one against the other. And if King Edward be as true and just as I am subtle, false, and treacherous, this day should Clarence closely be mewed up about a prophecy that says that G for George the murderer shall be. Dive thoughts down to my soul, here Clarence comes. Sometimes the sound of one word will change slightly the meaning of an entire speech. The chorus, you will remember, for you all have been cursed with being forced to read the plays and taught them rather than see them. Is that right? And how many of you are guilty of doing that to the poor young people? No one. Oh, there's 2 honest women in this, and a third one is not. So we'll put her in the maybe category. The important thing is you must see the play. The play is meant to be heard and seen. People would write letters and say, I went to hear a play. I heard the play of King Richard the Hunchback. The seeing of the play, the visual part of the play is totally foreign to them. Because it's the words, it's the language changing and chopping. With all the people coming to London, from all over the country, all over the continent, and occasionally from Asia and from Africa. So, the word loin is spelled L-I-N-E. But the word loin is also spelled L-O-I-N. Loin and loin. Now a line may be a genealogical line, the history of a family, the daughter, the son, the father, the grandfather, the great-grandfather, and so forth and so on. Yes? And when the line is cut, the line is ended. Two households, both alike in dignity. In fair Verona, where we lay our scene, from ancient grudge, break to new mutiny, for civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal lines of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose piteous misadventured overthrows do with their deaths bury their parents' strife. Forth the fatal loins, the line. Now the house of Montague and the house of Capulet are in. Yes? For Romeo and Juliet
Okay, you go.
are gone. Again. And to the chorus, set the scene, tell you the players, and we're off and running, because who comes on next? No, now I must tell you that anyone who would be offended about the story which tells about the bawdy hand of the clock standing straight upon the prick of noon, if that'll offend you, you'd better go and get another cup of coffee. Here's instruction that I've never seen in a modern production of Romeo and Juliet. So as soon as the dignified chorus leaves the stage, here comes two teenage boys, servants of the house of Capulet. And what do teenage boys talk about?
Wait a minute.
You've got a good memory. And what does a teenage boy know about a woman? So enter Samson and Gregory, and Samson's not too bright. Samson's not too bright, but he's bragging to beat all. And he's talking about what he would do with a Montague if he met him. He would push their men to the walls. Now, why you want to walk next to the wall? Well, everyone wants to walk next to the wall. Why you'd walk on the outside and push him in? Because you know, out the window is where you throw everything you don't want in your house, including the contents of the chamber pots. Yes. So he says, "What about the women?" He said, "I'll push the women to the wall." He'd push the women to the wall, yes, and I'd cut off their heads. And Gregory de Egmont says, "Only the heads?" Samson says, "Well, cut off their heads or their maiden heads." Oh, they would feel that. Well, they should feel me when I'm ready to stand. 'Tis known I am a pretty piece of flesh. And Gregory says to him, "Oh, no. Anyone who knows you knows that thou art but poor John, and poor John is a shriveled, salted piece of codfish." Samson's not real happy. He trips him off, and he heads over to the wall, and he decides he's got something to do over here. Gregory, in the meantime, has looked around the plaza, and he sees people coming. And he said, to himself, let's pick a fight. Now remember, they've been talking about a pretty piece of flesh and a piece of poor John, and he shouts to Samson, "Draw thy tool! Here come two of the house of Montague!" And Samson shakes his fist at him and says, "The naked weapon is out!" And he ties himself up and he comes. "Quarrel, I will back thee." And that's the dirtiest part of the whole thing. So, instructions to the players And a joke for the lads in the pit. Yes, because if you want that penny the apprentice boys bring you every week, you gotta keep them laughing.